Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful principle, something that elite traders and decision makers use to do more than just manage risk. They use it to actually thrive when things get uncertain. It's a rule that really separates the people who survive a crisis from the ones who become casualties. So let's start with a question that got very, very real back in the 2008 financial crisis. You saw tons of experienced investors just watch their entire fortunes evaporate, right? But then there were a few who somehow navigated the chaos. So what was their secret? What separated them from everyone else? Well, the answer, as it turns out, often comes down to a single critical difference in how they approach risk. And we can see this play out perfectly if we look at a tale of two very different investors. Okay. Now, what's really interesting here isn't just the math, it's the psychological side of things. Look at investor A. They're risking 10% on every decision. After just 3 bad calls in a row, boom, they're down 27%. At that point, they are panicking. And when you panic, you make even worse emotional decisions. But then look at investor B. They can take 10 straight losses, and they've only lost about 9.5% of their capital. They're still calm, they're still rational, and they're ready for the next opportunity. So, what is this powerful principle that separates them? What allows one person to stay calm and rational even when they're on a losing streak? Let's dive into the solution. It's called the 1% rule. The rule itself is incredibly simple, but it's also incredibly profound. It's this: never, ever risk more than 1% of your total capital on any single decision. And hey, this isn't some new age idea. This is a core principle used by legendary traders like Richard Dennis and Paul Tudor Jones. We're talking about people who built their entire careers on this exact kind of disciplined risk management. Okay, let's make this really concrete. Let's put a number on it. If your entire investment portfolio is, say, $100,000, the 1% rule means your maximum acceptable loss on any one idea is just $1,000, period. No single decision, no matter how confident you are, gets to break that rule. So why this specific number? What is so powerful about 1%? Well, it's this fascinating combination of some simple, almost brutal math and some really profound psychology. It literally rewires how you make decisions when you're under pressure. And this chart right here, this shows you the brutal math of loss. It's not symmetrical. A small 1% loss, you only need a tiny 1.01% gain to get back to even. It's no big deal. But a 50% loss, to get back to where you started, you need a massive 100% gain. You have to double your remaining money just to break even. Big losses put you in a deep, deep hole that is mathematically really hard to climb out of. The 1% rule is designed to stop you from ever falling into that hole in the first place. Now, this mathematical safety net, it leads to a huge psychological benefit. Top performers call it decisive calm. And it makes sense, right? Because you know that no single outcome can ruin you. You've removed that paralyzing fear of a catastrophic loss. And this frees up your mind to make clear, rational decisions based on your strategy, not on your emotions. Okay, so this all sounds great as a concept, but how do we actually put this into a practical framework? Let's break down how you can put this rule to work starting today. You can put this into practice with 3 pretty straightforward steps. First, you've got to define your total capital. The entire pool of resources that you're actively putting at risk. Second, calculate your 1%. Just do the simple math. And third, and this part is absolutely crucial, you have to size your position accordingly. Now, even though we call it the 1% rule, you should really think of it as a guideline. Some people might adjust it down to 0.5%, others might go up to 2%. It really depends on your personal risk tolerance. The key isn't the exact number, but the discipline of having that small, fixed limit. So it is so crucial to understand that this rule is not about being timid. It's not about avoiding risk. It's actually the key to playing a much bigger, much longer game. This quote from our source material just captures the deeper meaning perfectly. The 1% rule isn't just about limiting risk. It's a longevity strategy. It's designed from the ground up to ensure you can keep making decisions for years and even for decades. Your whole goal shifts completely. You stop trying to hit a home run on every single swing. Instead, your number one goal becomes survival. You just focus on staying in the game, no matter what the market conditions are. Because that longevity, that's what allows your small, consistent wins to compound into massive success over time. It ensures that you are always able to play the next hand. So that brings us to the final takeaway, and it's a question you should ask yourself on your next big decision. Are you playing to win this one hand, or are you playing to stay in the game for a lifetime? Because paradoxically, focusing on just staying in the game, that is very often the surest way to win it.